Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Gray?
Present.
Trustee Caprio?
Present.
Trustee Rogers?
Present.
Trustee Speed?
Present.
Mayor Yurkich?
Present.
Are they? Nancy Clerk is absent?
Yes.
And Trustee Varian?
Yes.
Traffic.
Are there any amendments to the agenda? Is there a motion to approve the minutes of April 25th, 2018, committee of the whole meeting? So moved.
I'll second.
Discussion?
I did receive an email from Trustee Varian earlier today, so I'm not sure.
Was it on the April 25th one though?
Yeah.
Okay, so are you going to make the changes to it?
I said you can mention it at the meeting, but now he's not here. I'm not really sure what to do. It
So
was a
we just
minor.
table that one.
Is that possible?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you need a motion to table?
You just take, you want to do that, or you want to just table until he gets here?
No,
Just pass it.
Okay,
Yeah.
why don't we just table it if he doesn't, well, let's just do it another one in case he doesn't get here, by the time we finish.
All right, so if we can get finished, we can finish it today. All right, is there a motion to approve the minutes of May 9th, 2018, committee of the whole meeting?
I so moved.
Squeeze.
A second.
Mr. Rogers, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
I just have it. Clerk Coates, you're positive that's the date? Because that's not the date that I recall. So you're positive it was April 25th?
Yeah.
Okay. Next one. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of June 13th, 2018, village board meeting?
I so move.
Second. Gray. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And then we'll come back to the events later. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of June 20th, 2018, committee of the whole meeting?
I so moved.
Trustee Swees? Will you second that? Sure. Gray, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Next one, is there a motion to approve the minutes of August 22nd, 2018, committee of the whole? So, Trustee Gray,
I'll second.
Sweet. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Next will be reports and communications from mayor and other officers. First off, I would like to introduce our new village manager, Anne Marie Gora. She started a week and a half ago, and she's learning everything that she can. She's doing a very, very good job at it, and we are all very comfortable with her and what she's been out for the village. So, do you have anything to say?
I will just say I wanted to thank the mayor and village board for the opportunity to serve Homer Glen. I have been very welcomed by everyone here, the elected officials, the staff, and I'm learning a lot. I'm absorbing and getting a number of tours of the community from different perspectives of different people, both from the village and other entities that work with the village. So I'm just really excited to be here, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Okay, next. Work on Parker Road is expected to be finished by the end of this week. However, the road will not reopen until guardrails are installed. For more information, contact the Homer Township Road at 708-301-0246. Taco Bell signs on to open in Homer Glen Plaza. Taco Bell is the village's newest retail tenant for Homer Glen Plaza at the southwest corner of 143rd Road. Taco Bell opens a franchise restaurant in a multi-tenant building fronting Bell Road that is currently under construction. The approved site plan includes a drive-through and outdoor seating. Tucker Bell joins Dollar Tree and O'Reilly Auto Parts for Phase 1 home at Glen Bell Plaza. Traffic alert, Fall Farm Fest. I would like to make residents aware that we have a couple of Fall Farm Fests opening this weekend. You should expect to see increasing traffic along 151st Street, as well as Cedar Road between 167th Street and Bruce Road. Please drive with extra caution, as there will be an increased number of pedestrians. They are working right now on the water line and the sewer line from Cedar to Gower Road. Water line is probably still 4 to 6 weeks away. The sewer line probably 2.5 months away, but they should be done this year. They're moving real quick with 159th Street, as quick as they can right now. I'd like to see it done faster. They're also trying to get all the openings for all the businesses that are out there. They still are on schedule to finish on 159th Street by the end of this year. Just roads, the inside medians will still be being worked on. But if we get the roads open, it'll be wonderful, and I'm sure the businesses would appreciate it. So we'll go to the trustees right now. Trustee Gray.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no report on behalf of the Public Safety Committee, but I would like to send my congratulations and welcome to interim village manager Ian as well. Welcome, and we hope we can do good things together.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Rogers.
Reporting on behalf of the Parks Committee, the 319 grant work is near completion, and after core, we've been meeting almost daily, and the staff has been meeting daily with the architect and the engineers and the contractors, and it's moving along. Slidehill's looking really great. The toys, as I like to call them, should be here soon. And once they are facilities, John Robinson has agreed to do some updated drones so that the residents can get a better idea of just how much work is going on back there, because it is really hard to see from the main road. But there is just a tremendous amount of work that's happening there and has been completed there, so we are still on target to complete on time at this point. He also made the recommendation to add an aerator to the pond at 319, which is a great idea. It was a good catch on his part. It helped to keep the pond free of algae and away from the mosquitoes, and putting it in at this point in the process is makes more sense than to wait and see if it was needed in 3 years. Both he and I both have ponds on our property and have struggled with irrigation and different things like that, so excited for that. On a separate note, I have been on my own working to put together a veterans celebration type of recognition thing for November the 11th, just on my own, not as a part of trustee, but had met with the VFW Hall in Lockport and done some preliminary meetings, and Konos has generously agreed to stay open one more day, which would be November 11th, and allow us the use of their facilities for free, which is amazing. And we've reached out to various different bands and things like that who have committed to doing some of the events, and I just put up a draft type of flyer for you guys to share. Thankfully, Trustee Gray was kind enough to help me, and it just kind of outlines a little bit of what I'm looking to do, and that would be, again, November 11th from 12 to 3 at Connelly's. We'll do a 21-gun salute. Again, John Robbins has agreed to, he has some tanks and things like that we'll bring over that the kids can see. It's going to be completely free to anybody and everybody to come out and just honor our vets and their families. It's not just strictly for vets, it's for everybody to come and just show our appreciation to them. We're going to have, if it's approved, we'll have some face painting and some music, different things like that. So what I'm looking for is just some, an A or an A if I can go through with this, and just continue on behalf of the village to put something like this together. I would ask for a budget of about $5,000, and that would be, I think that's very doable, because a lot of the people who I've reached out to are offering their services for free. or at a really, really reduced cost. So I just think that this is something that this village is missing and needs, and would like your support. Just looking for some feedback.
What was it?
We can do a consensus now.
Can we do it, I was thinking we discuss this, or you just want to do a consensus?
Oh, we can discuss it. Let's, if you have any questions, I would definitely ask them, and then do consensus afterwards, if she has an idea if going forward, it's worth it or not. So if anyone does have a question,
I think that's a great idea, and I think it's well needed in our community, from our community, to honor the vets and honor the village we serve. My question is, can we take action on that and give Trustee Rogers a budget now, or are we just giving her consensus to put it into the next meeting to give her the money to go forward? Is this a timely issue? Do you need money now, or?
My understanding is it doesn't need to be, the money is there either through the Parks Committee. You know, we have a budget of $10,000 for special events. I didn't want to have to use all of that for this, but I feel like if I need to, then we would do that, but it would cut into another event that we have planning. I would look to use this from discretionary
I don't
funds.
think we have our discretionary funds. And that's what I meant is, can we make that action now?
I think at this point, you just want a general consensus. The issue being it wasn't on the agenda yet.
Right.
So I think that if there's a general
Right.
consensus that the board says, yes, we like this idea.
Right, because I need a consensus because I haven't committed, I haven't tied up like the face painter and food truck, and I need to tie them into this day because it is a popular day, and I don't want to commit to anything to any of these people. Like, again, like one of the bands that said that they would play is called Sweet Reminders, and they're very popular on that day because they do like World War II era type of music and things like that, and the Lockport swing. So, you know, I need to lock these people in.
And then the formal action of actually approving any kind of money we put on the next agenda.
so.
It has my consensus. I would just say also, if you have any further thought on money, if you needed more. I know that, you know, Trustee Gabrielle bears this out with, and Trustee Sweets indeed with Homer Harbor says $5,000 will go very quickly when you're trying to buy food and things like that. So, you know, I would just think that you know, maybe a not to exceed, maybe a higher number, but I know you're probably trying to keep it as lean as possible.
This is not something we're trying to raise funds for?
No. I talked to the Homer Glen Foundation. They're the ones that are working with us to build the memorial up there. And they talked about doing some type of like a raffle with gift cards and baskets and things like that. And that money would be used strictly towards going for that. You know, but I feel like it's very hard for me to say because it is a free event, and the only cost that we really have is the food so far and the face painting, which is very minimal. I think the face painting comes to a little over $300 for the day. And so I think it's really it's a Sunday.
You have my support. I think you'll come well under $5,000, but it's a good mark.
So I guess staff or village manager, you guys can figure out the wording for putting that on the next agenda.
Yes.
And we're, you know, talking to the John Sawyer's, it was kind of, I wasn't really sure where it was coming from, but I really was hoping to not tap into the Parks Fund because that doesn't have a lot of money in it, and our Christmas thing that we're doing this year is bigger than it's ever been, and it's going to use up a lot of the funds, and we still wanted to do something over at the new park at Goodings Grove in the spring, so I was hoping to get that money from either the discretionary funds or whatever you guys thought. Easy.
I'm in favor too. I think that we need to show our appreciation for what all the guys and gals have done for this country for a long time. With disrespect that's going out there, I think we should make sure we disrespect them.
Okay, so I will continue to work with the FW Post 5788 and Konos and get you some of the preliminary contracts that we've gotten so we can move forward with it and go from there.
Thank you.
Oh, well, I guess since I touched on it, the Christmas tree lighting is going along really well. There's a subcommittee who spent a lot of time organizing it, and I think that it's going to be something that the village is really proud of, and we're going to have a lot of fun. We have a lot of different lights, K-rugs, something like Easy.
All right, you're all set? The date for Christmas?
Yeah.
We got a couple months before we start.
December 1st.
Yeah.
December 1st? Yeah, I know, it's flying by. Okay, trustee Suisse.
No report this evening, Mayor.
Trustee Caprio.
No major report. I'm part of the Parade and Festival Committee. I can only report that we have no date set yet, but we are having a 2019 festival here on the grounds, we hope. So we'll see what conditions are in here over the next several months, and we plan to make a decision soon and start to understand what dates and start getting some contractual agreements in place. So other than that, no report. And welcome, Airy.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do we have a treasurer's report? Do we have a clerk's report?
No.
Do we have a village attorney's report?
Speechless, Your Honor.
Speech. Public safety. No report, Mayor. Nicely done.
You got it, sir.
I'll put you up with a gun tonight. You're too new right now. So we'll hit you up next week.
Okay, thank you.
Unless you got something.
No, I'm just going to say happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Next will be public comment. If you could keep it below 3 minutes or 3 minutes or below, that would be wonderful. Joe, you have something? No, I do not, sir. Okay. But I'll give you 3 minutes. I'm fine, thank you. First one is Ann Olson.
Envision having a boot on my foot when I signed up last week. So anyway, I'm here to speak on agenda item H3. I live across the street from the resident. I've lived there for 20 years, and I'm just here to speak in favor of granting the variance. We have similar situations in common, whereas I also have a 6-foot fence and I'm looking to replace it. Mine, however, was built on my lot line. This all happened prior to incorporation. I do feel she has justification for the hardship. There are no trees in the parkways for a very long stretch along Farmview Street, as well as our particular intersection on Pinto. It also is a T intersection. The line of sight is very, very clear. I have so much room on my corner. Cars driving across it was not uncommon when the neighborhood was younger. But anyway, in the 20 years that I've lived there have been no accidents along that stretch of roadway. So I do not see line of sight being an issue. I do see privacy being an issue, and I have that same sentiment about my own yard. I feel like we're on display without a 6-foot fence. So I just want to sum that up saying I do support the variance, and I hope that you will grant it to them. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Cahill.
I'm Jim Cahill, 16049 Penny Lane, in Solbridge Woods Villa. I hope you excuse me, I'm getting old, so I have to read this large print. I served on several committees in the early days of the village, including chairman of the Town Center Task Force, former Glen representative to I-355 Advisory Committee. I have sweat equity in this village. Our 2 daughters and their families live in Homer Glen also, so we have an investment in the future of the village and care about it. Because of my concern about the future of Homer Glen, I wanted to discuss HG 1818, known as South Point. I know that it's not on the agenda, but it is on your desk for review, having been approved by the Planning Commission. My concern is that the Planning Commission reviewed, discussed, and approved this large, complex project at the first meeting where it was presented. This from the Commission that Takes multiple meetings to approve a fence or building modification. I was shocked until I learned what they approved. They did not complete their due diligence. As an example, they did not get impact statements from the fire, police, or highway departments or the affected school districts. Any of these reports may change the planned project. Also, in comparing the submittals to the village standards, it appears that they approve variances for all non-compliance areas rather than negotiating changes. With over 20 variances, there was a lot of work required in this area. HG 1818 did not receive the normal required review, and I urge you to send it back to the Planning Commission to complete their work and to bring the project into compliance with the village standards. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. And actually, we're going to talk about it. They already have made a lot of changes. So they're just about reached out within a week and a half. The count is down. The amount of room for density is dropped drastically.
Will it go back to planning or
It's
will
going
it
to come before us, and we're going to sit down and talk to them, then it's going to go back to the planning
but
commission.
it'll be on an agenda when it comes up?
Yes, and the only thing they gave is just a preliminary approval. There's never been an approval of this yet.
Okay.
So, but as soon as that does come up, I'll make sure you know.
Thank you.
And Mr. Cahill, just to clarify, it will come back to the board? It's going to come back here
Yes.
because of the logistics of it, and then we send it back to planning.
Okay.
So when it comes back here, the only thing that really happens is that if it passes, the motion is made to send it back to the board.
Next would be Jim Nessie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Jim Nessie, 18011 Haas Grove. I've been a resident in Homer Glen since 1993. And when I first moved into the area, across the street from me was a preserve. Now it's Hunt Club Woods, and unfortunately, I'm having issues with water problems. It's nonstop. Every day, there's a problem with the water coming into my yard. A few years back, previous administration, they had put a pipe in a sewer that runs from the culvert that comes across the road, water dumps into there, and then they ran a pipe over 300 feet underneath the ground that goes underneath my driveway into a pond that I dug back in 1993. And for some of you folks, you probably know who I am. I do nothing but conservation, education, and rescue. And what I'm concerned about is I have fish dying. I couldn't tell you, probably at least 20 large fish that died. Took them out of the pond. Another problem is the frogs are disappearing, and a big concern is the garter snakes. Snakes are so important to the environment with the rodents. And I've done nothing but conservation my whole life. And what I'm concerned about is what is coming in the water underneath the road. I've had, like I said, they put this pipe in, and now, according to the gentleman that came out on Monday to my house, and thank you, Mayor, for sending them out, they said that the pipe was blocked. Well, I looked and I got down. The pipe is only about 8 inches in diameter. If you're going to go over 300 feet, there's no way that the pipe won't get clogged. It's going to happen. And I was told it was my responsibility to get the pipe unclogged. I would have never did what was done, but nobody would let me tell them what we should do. They said, this is what it is, this is what we're going to do. And I had several ideas about water runoff when Hunt Club Woods was first built. But the administration before the last administration, they didn't want to hear about my ideas of water runoff. So unfortunately, now everything I predicted has come true. And it's very frustrating because I have grandkids that fish in the pond. I have nephews, and I do a lot of work with special needs kids. And I'm concerned about what might be coming into the water. There's definitely an issue.
So someone did come out from the highway department?
Yeah, 3 people came out, 3 gentlemen came out, and, you know, they took a look at it. They said the pipe was definitely blocked. So at this point, Mr. Mayor, it's just so frustrating because, like I said, I've been 25 years, I've lived in the town. And it's so difficult that your yard turns into be a big mud hole. You know, I'm on 2.5 acres, and I do nothing but conservation work. That's what I do, open space. This has been my whole message. You know, people know me as the alligator guy. You've seen me on all the national TV shows. I got the big alligator bubble. You've seen me everywhere. I'm at schools. I do all kinds of presentations. I do a lot of work at Connelly Farm. So I'm all over. And like I said, my whole message is conservation. And I'm concerned about animals disappearing and dying. That's what I'm worried about.
Okay. I'll make a phone call tomorrow and I'll get all these now.
All right, thank you, sir. Thanks for giving me the opportunity.
No problem.
And, I mean, Mayor, you and I have talked about this before as well, because Mr. Nessie and I are neighbors. We both have ponds. We both have the same problems. I lost 50 fish this year. It literally looked like a slaughterhouse in my backyard one day when I was gone for a long weekend and I came home and there was counted 50 fish that were like large fish because my pond is old. The runoff that comes from the other subdivision sometimes has bubbles in it. That's not normal. And just this week on Monday, I spent 2 days, I had a landscape company come out for 2 days and just dig algae out and take it away because I couldn't treat it anymore. There's just, so something needs to be addressed.
Has anybody done water quality tests?
Pardon?
Water quality tests?
Sure, if you want to pay for it. And then I mean, I've spent a lot of money just trying to keep that thing clean from runoff from a subdivision that I don't have any say-so over. But we literally spent 2 days digging out algae just floating on the top. And like I said, there's been times on like heavy rain, so you go out there and there's bubbles in the pond.
Is that well septic out there?
Yes.
All right. Then what we would do is that would, because I go well septic before too, we still can't have a test there as well to see if something was leaking into the ground, percolating back up. And I know it is an expensive thing, but I mean, the one thing the village can't do, we can't absorb it on an individual basis.
Right, but I guess the question is if the residents test it, then, and it comes up where, okay, we're getting bubbles from septic fields and laundry stuff, then action is going to be taken. I've been told, not from this administration, but from attorneys, the Will County Health Department, I then have to go and sue and spend the money to do that, on top of all the money that I've already spent to try to keep my pond from just flooding constantly and overflowing. And you know, I've been there 20 years and it's not the same pond it was even 10 years ago.
Well, that's one thing. Let me get a hold of Mr. DeVito tomorrow and I'll talk to him and see what can be done. And Mr. Nessie, I understand the situation you're in too. As for some of the ponds overflowing, when we had horrible rains for like 3-4 days straight, it flooded everything. So you got to figure all the water that's coming off, it's got all kinds of fertilizer in it, all kinds of weed killers,
Pesticides.
coming
Yes.
out. So we need to see if it's an issue that could be altered or see if there's some problems with some of the septic systems that are out there now, especially with the percolating of water coming up. It almost stinks. So
It's just a lot of water that comes onto the east side of Potts Road. I mean, it doesn't have to be a huge storm. I mean, it just runs down the driveway. I've shown you pictures. It's crazy the amount of water that we get over there.
all right, let me talk to Mr. DeVito tomorrow, and then I'll get back to you.
Thank you.
Mr. Coy.
Is there any high tension lines by you guys?
No.
Because down by Angus Park, approximately 6 years ago, I was chasing 2 guys on 4-wheelers out of the Angus Park and going up the hill and the wetlands and everything, and here they're from ComEd. So then after I did call the police, you know, and with that, they didn't, finally I called them back because I forget it. But anyway, they were in there putting in Killzall so that they didn't have everything growing so that they could get up their power lines. Well, Long Run Creek runs right through there, as everyone knows, and with that, the frogs died, the crabs were in there, they died, fish died, everything in there died, and I think a few of you walked that property with me at one time with the bike trail. There were dead birds, there was dead raccoons. I mean, it was atrocious what these ComEd did, spraying that property, and it all washed down the hill and into that park and into the Long Run Creek. Now, I just about a week and a half ago saw a guy with a pickup truck sitting in the Angus Park parking lot doing something on his iPad or whatever. Anyway, and I asked him who he was, and he said that he was looking and he has to survey because they might spray to get rid of the overgrowth. I would look into something like that too, because like I say, sometimes these utility companies do things that can really put you at a disadvantage with that.
Okay.
Another thing. I really think it's wrong that any of our fire department, well, I don't think the police do it. Anyway, library and things like this, they go out and then they want to pass this property increase now again this year. 2 years ago, they were looking for a 7.5% increase in our property taxes for the library. That was 2 years ago. I couldn't find it because they advertised this, which is supposed to be in a local newspaper. The library advertises it in the Joliet Herald. Luckily, I saw the Joliet Herald today. I opened it up and there it was. This year, they're only getting 2-point-some million, over 2.5 or around there. But this year they want a 4.5 increase for them. Now, to me, according to this, the estimated property taxes to be levied in 2018 are $2,691,500, which represents an 8.5% increase over the previous year. I don't understand how they get away with it, and nobody knows about it unless you get the Joliet Herald. 2 years ago, if you guys remember, I called up the Joliet Herald. They only have less than 80 accounts in Homer Glen. I called up the Horizon. They have over 1,000 accounts in Homer Glen. I call up the Southtown. They have around 900 accounts. How can we go along with this? And when I talked to the Sherry Kozel Laha, she told me, I've been doing this since I took over here, and I'm staying that way, and that's what I'm going to do. I didn't like that for an answer, and I really think we should do something, get together. This, I have about 7 copies of this, if anybody wants one, because unless you want to go buy today's paper. But anyway, at least it'll give you an idea. And then it's in the middle there. This represents a 9.4 increase. But down here, you say, well, we might just want 8.5. That's not right. But anyway, and it should be that they advertise this in the local paper for us, not Joliet. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Okay. Is there a motion to approve those? No, we already got those. Proclamation declaring September as Suicide Prevention Month in the Village of Homer Glen. Is there a motion to approve the attached proclamation declaring a September Suicide Prevention Month in the Village of Homer Glen?
So moved.
Trustee Caprio,
I'll second.
trustee Swees. Guess they want me to read this. Okay, Annie, you want to do the roll call?
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, designation of September as National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month in the Village of Homer Glen. September is known around the United States as National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, and it is intended to help promote awareness around each of the suicide prevention resources available to us and our community. Suicidal thoughts can affect anyone regardless of age, gender, race, orientation, income level, religion, or background. According to the CDC, suicide is the 10th leading cause of death among the adults in the U.S., and each year more than 41,000 people die by suicide. The Village of Homer Glen is no different than any other community in the country, but chooses to publicly state and place our full support behind local educators, mental health professionals, athletic coaches, pack leaders, police officers, and parents. As partners in supporting our community and simply being available to one another and local organizations like Suicide Prevention Services and national organizations like the National Alliance for Mental Illness are on the front lines of the battle that may still refuse to discuss in public, as suicide and mental illness remain too taboo a topic to speak out. Every member of our community should understand that throughout life's struggles, we all need the occasional reminder that we are all silently fighting our own battles. So this board encourages all residents to take the time to inquire as to the well-being of the family and friends, neighbors over the next few days, and to genuinely convey their appreciation for their existence by any gesture they deem appropriate. A simple phone call, message, handshake, or hug can go a long way towards helping someone realize that suicide is not the answer. So now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Mayor and Board of Trustees of the Village of Homer Glen that September is recognized as National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month in the Village of Homer Glen, Will County, Illinois, dated this 12th day of September 2018.
Mayor, I'd just like to add to that, that's really timely given that what Trustee Rogers talked about the veterans and this coming September 12th, right after September 11th. Suicide really impacts first responders, and the Chicago Police Department just had another active duty officer take her life just this morning or last night. So not only should we reach out to all of our friends and family and everything, but particularly those who are in those crisis careers where they deal with a lot of stress and a lot of, they internalize a lot of that and they don't know how to release that. So that they should be given particular attention.
Thank you. Okay. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 18-036, an ordinance granting a special use permit for a major amendment to the Homer Glen Bell Plaza Plan Unit Development 220-903, compliance and amendments of Chapter 220, zoning of the Code of the Village of Homer Glen, including a variance to increase the maximum permitted wall sign allowance for the Dollar Tree store from 108 square feet to 129 square feet. Right there. Of Chapter 220, zoning of the Code of the Village of Homer Glen, located in the C2 Local Business District at the southwest corner of 143rd Street and South Bell Road, Homer Glen, Illinois. It is further understood that 1, a variance to increase the maximum permitted height of 2 multi-tenant signs from 10 feet to 15 feet. variance to increase the maximum permitted copy area per sign face of these two multi-tenant signs from 65 square feet to 120 square feet will be tabled for a workshop discussion on the October 10th, 2018 Village Board meeting.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mayor, I'd just like to mention that this is somewhat of a compromise in that when the applicant came before us back in August 22nd, I believe it was, he was looking for 210 square feet on the Dollar Tree sign, and that has now come down substantially down to 129, so we certainly do appreciate that. I believe the sign itself has lost its logo, if that's correct. It's now just a copy area. And the fact that we are tabling off the monument signs, given that at our last meeting we asked that we put that into some sort of workshop item so that we can have a discussion as a panel and decide where we want to go with some of those thresholds. So I appreciate all the work that's gone into this, and I'm glad to see that we are going in that direction. And I appreciate the architect coming back and working with us on the wall sign.
While I agree with everything Trustee Gray said, I also want to add that as 159th Street comes online, we have to really consider those items as well when we do consider our sign ordinance as it relates to monument signs. There's going to be hopefully, some big business players that would like to come into 159th Street. And we need to treat everyone equally, which we will. And we'll make variances where they're welcome, where they're appropriate. But we need to consider those things for those type of monument signs, because there's going to be a plethora, I hope, of signs coming forward for 159th Street.
Thank you. Anything else?
Trustee Gray said everything I was basically going to say. Thank you.
Okay. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, is there a motion to approve ordinance number 18042, an ordinance granting a variance to increase the maximum height of the fence located in the corner side yard from 4 feet to 6 feet, and 2, a variance to permit a solid fence in the corner side yard where fences are required to be open and designed. Fences, walls, and swimming pools in Chapter 220 zoning, the Code of the Village of Homer, Glen for certain real property located in R4, single-family residential district at 15331 South Pinto, Homer, Glen, Illinois.
I so move.
Trustee Caprio?
Second.
Trustee Gray? Any discussion?
That's it. I'm not initially comfortable with this because I did not see the need when you go through the neighborhood. The newer fences all have the 4 foot on the corner. The fact that there's a swimming pool there, I changed my mind because I believe it is a safety issue. We have what I call pool jumpers, and a 4 foot fence is really easy to hop over. But I just don't know why it has to be a solid fence.
Yes.
I believe she's here.
Well, a couple of reasons. One is I have a small dog, and I have my grandchildren a lot too. And we have coyotes, like right across the street. They walk right down our street. They, I know that Ann had a coyote in her side yard that killed a small dog. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And, at night, even with the 6 foot fence, I take my dog out on a leash. And I also, we have a lot of traffic. Not a lot, but I mean, compared to the other side streets, Farmview is a busy street, so it really isn't very private besides that. And it's just, I feel that it's safer with animals you know, and I'm worried that we basically had a solid fence the whole time too. And I do worry that someone could maybe more easily, I know 6 foot is better to have, because I think it would be a lot harder for someone to get over it. But I almost wonder if a coyote could get through the grates too, you know, the slot.
You currently have the slot fence.
But it's a shadow
It's a
box,
shadow
so
box.
it's like,
So it
can't-
presents solid when you look
Right.
at this. If you look at this one picture from an angle, you can see through it.
right,
Face on, it presents solid.
you basically, if you're walking along or driving by, you really can't see through it. You know, you would have to go right up, and you can't get through it because of the way it is. It's like it's solid, it's just got a little space in between. And I'm worried about the dog getting through it.
Well, I mean, I'm empathetic to that. I have 4 dogs as well,
Yeah.
so I'm, you know, where we live, there's a lot of coyotes, and we take our dogs out, our smaller dogs out on a leash.
Yeah,
You
in
know,
my
to
yard.
help. But in the past, as a board, we have not looked at that as a hardship when it came to dogs. Or, you know, there was one just recently where they wanted it in the front yard so that the dog would have more room. I just want to be cautious, make sure that we're looking at this from all sides. And I'm extremely empathetic to with regards to the animals, but we just need to make sure that we're comfortable doing this today and then moving forward as well, and not just because somebody has a dog. So, something to think about.
The only thing that scares me is that the corners have been solid. There's no stop sign there, so we have to worry about someone just kind of pulling through it. There's nothing coming because you can't see it. That's outside. All right. Anyone
But
else?
they're saying basically it's somewhat solid now. I mean,
Right.
she's proposing putting that plastic stuff up, right? It's just going to be 100% solid. So I just want to make sure the board's comfortable, as soon as they make, they're comfortable with that decision going forward when someone's asking for similar variance on a corner.
The fence that she has now is solid. It's the boards that are above it.
The board on board.
Right, they're on both sides of the rail.
I get it, I'm just saying that's not what our variance, that's not what our ordinance
It's
is.
not a shadow box, it's a solid fence.
It's just, we're swaying from the ordinance on material and height, so that we're clear on that.
I actually.
We're not straying from the ordinance on material though, because we have a lot of.
Well, it allows it to be, it's asking for it to be open though. on the
Right,
corner.
so the aesthetic of it, we're varying, right? But
Right.
the
Not the-
material
okay,
itself.
the
we
aesthetic
allow
portion of
fine.
it, right?
I appreciate that you're concerned, but to me, I look at this, and like you said, the pool is one of those things where you have to secure the pool, and the 6 foot is, since it predates the village, it's a, you know, a legacy item of legal non-conforming, and so by replacing with the 6 foot, you're replacing light with light, so now it just comes down to the matter of it being truly a solid fence, where this, you could argue, you know, at a 45-degree angle, you can't see through this thing. I have driven by this just this past weekend, and it was, it presents, it appears solid pretty much from all angles, and you know, I drive low to the ground, you guys all know that, so I could not see through this thing, but there were no sightline issues either, because, you know, some of these pictures are a little disingenuous, they show these big loops of dotted lines and things like that, but it's really where the fence is set so far back, it's not that red area. So if you're on the corner of Pinto, you know, you have a very long sight line down Farmview. And to be honest with you, the fence is in pretty rough shape right now, so it definitely is going to be a step.
No, I'm not concerned with the sight line, you know, that's not my concern. My concern is setting a precedent moving forward.
Sure.
On
Solid fence.
putting, you know, I'm not saying material, I'm saying it wrong, but you know what I'm saying, the type of fence that it is. And the 6 foot, I would think it's going to be, the state would require that because it's a pool, right?
Well, it's only 4 foot now.
It's It's only 4 foot now? Oh, wow. I don't have a problem with the 6 foot. I think it's a safety issue with that corner and people hopping in. My only, it's not a concern, I'm just putting it out there, is setting the precedent for moving forward. If we're replacing old with an old, whether it's a fence, mailbox, sign, just if we're replacing an old with an old, and my old sign was, this, and my new sign's gonna be this too, even though, just making sure everybody's aware of the ramifications of it.
Anything else? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet? Aye. Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, is there a motion to approve ordinance number 18-043, an ordinance granting a variance to reduce a required side yard setback for the proposed in-ground swimming pool from 20 feet to 10 feet, and a variance to reduce a required rear yard setback for the proposed in-ground swimming pool from 20 feet to 10 feet. Statute 220-72, fences, walls, and swimming pools, Chapter 220 zoning of the Village of Homer Glen for certain real property located in the R2 single-family residential district at 16856 South Brentwood, Homer Glen, Illinois.
That's the move.
Mr. Caprio?
I'll second.
Discussion? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Sweet? Aye. Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 18-044, an ordinance approving one, a preliminary plat subdivision, the zoning map amendment, Article 11, administration and enforcement, Chapter 220, zoning, the code of the Village of Homer Glen, 3, special use for the planned unit, development, plan development of Chapter 220, zoning, the code of the Village of Homer Glen, and 4, a site plan for certain real property generally located in the C3 General Business District, east of South Bell Road and south of Glengary Drive, Homer Glen, Illinois. It is further understood that the following PUD exceptions will be required for the approval. 1, permit a net density of 8.99 units per acre for the town-owned parcels. Exception to exterior construction standards 75 through 67 would include the rear-loaded uptown series with garages below and front grade. Residential development sign with a gross surface area of the sign face not to exceed 65 square feet. The applicant will be granted up to 96 square feet of new construction sign on each side of the double face sign with no more than 12 feet in overall height as measured from grade. The permit for the new construction sign should be valid for 36 months from the date of the final plat approval. HG 1820-PAS, Oak Green Capital Apartments, LLC.
So moved.
Trustee Gray.
I'll second.
Trustee Caprio. Discussion.
Mayor, I'd like to ask if the petitioners, or the developers here,
Yes, sir.
are you Mr. Lazinski?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see who. I didn't know who was talking. I'm sorry.
It's been a long meeting already, huh?
Are you Mr. Lazinski? Is it?
Yeah, John Lazinski, managing member of Oak Creek Capital Partners.
All right. I went through your Park Place development out in Geneva, and I know that Director Gotti sent you a list of questions, and several of them I recognize as being the author. And I just wanted to ask, one of the things I'd asked about was out there you have permeable pavers. And I know you answered that question that the site really doesn't lend itself to that, and I think that some of the staff is chiming in as well about the drainage and things like that. And after going through Park Place, what I really liked about it, and I understand you live there too, so
Yes, I do.
you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It really makes a nice break between all of that blonde concrete. I mean, a lot of concrete becomes a lot of concrete really quick. And when you're doing developments like this, people are wanting to be as sensitive as they can to, you know, avoid monotony. That's why we've asked for different color schemes and different stone schemes and different garage door schemes, trying to, you know, avoid any of that monotony. This being a bigger development, I was certainly particular about the concrete not, you know, becoming overwhelming. So while I understand that you can't do the permeable pavers, is it possible that we can do some sort of either sand concrete or colored concrete, something to break down the overall effect of that?
Well, the alleyways in north-south road was intended to be asphalt. Can we do bands of stamped concrete or brick pavers at like key entry points or around the traffic circle? We can look at those. Because there's a way to do them, and I've done those in other developments, as key areas that you come into, just to denote some difference in feel and texture. And we can most certainly look at those on a limited basis, and you know, I can think 3 or 4 specific areas on the plan probably make sense.
Okay. Yeah, those, like I said, I think those go a long way to help, you know, to personalize the landscape and the hardscape and make it feel like a community. I did like Park Place, and I understand the density number out there is 15.
It's
And
15.
you know, I pulled into your development. I parked in there. I sat in the quad basically, and it was really nice. It did not feel crowded at all, I must say. So you did a nice job.
Well, thank you very much. The one thing you should just aside on those permeable pavers, one of the challenges you actually have with those is snowplow. You got to have a rubber blade for that. So obviously the HOA are running the association need to be aware of who their plowing services are, things like that. Otherwise, they do get damaged, which is obviously I'm on the board since I developed it. I got put on the board right away. So I get,
Anything else?
Oh, yes. I appreciate you bringing this down a little bit, but it's still way over our limits.
let me just do some math, because sometimes math is interesting. When we had our first meeting with staff, it was talked about, and ultimately our plan evolved from that, was a desire to have what became the north-south and the east-west public street be separate, dedicated rights-of-way. We came up this week and we were more willing to agree that those really wouldn't be publicly maintained. And if you just change the acreage, what we were told originally is the townhome area needed to be under 10 acres to avoid the conservation district. And the commercial or the right-of-way would be the balance. So if we just change that plan around with the rights-of-way, we theoretically would have shown the townhome area to be 9.9 acres, staying under the 10. And that just reduces that net density from that 8.99 to 7.67 units per acre.
How can you get it that low? By just reducing?
Because right now, what's happening is in the density calculation, you're removing the acreage from the calculation for the right-of-way, where if it wasn't a publicly dedicated area, it would go back into the townhome area. It's one of those things where the density in the units and the plan doesn't change. It's what is the perception and how the math works out when you peel away, because the net density definition is to peel away the public rights of way. But now we've agreed that we're not going to make those public rights of way, or they'll be publicly owned, but they're going to be privately maintained by the association.
Okay. And then in the exterior construction, there's so much hardy board on these buildings. I mean, there's very little brick. It's mostly hardy
There's
board.
brick on the first floor elevations on all 4 sides. And we can work with the builder on that to expand it.
Right, because the pictures we're seeing here is there's
And hardy
the first floor goes up above, you know, when you look at the rear elevation, the only brick is around the garages.
Yeah.
It's on the side of the garages, and, you know.
Yeah, it's on the first
level, It's
level.
all hardy board.
That's the first floor. Which is a masonry product.
It's what?
It's a masonry product, it's a cement board. It's not a wood product. And on the front elevation, you can see in these areas it goes up the whole way. Now, it's at least on the first elevation here, goes all the way up here, 2/3 of the way up in the front elevation. But if you want us to look at additional brick on, we got to find logical places from the architecture where to break that.
Because these type of townhomes don't, you have variances for the townhomes itself, right? Because it's all front loaded, all the garages.
It's a rear load.
I mean,
And this is just,
yeah.
the other trustee referred to Park Place in Geneva is the same way. We've got a lot, we do have brick, we've got about 55% of the building is brick, and then we've got a significant amount of hardy, because, all brick, it's like anything, all of one thing becomes monotonous. You can change colors, but it's still the feel and texture does become monotonous. So what you try to do is have the feel, which we did at Park Place, of one color, and then the trim of another color, but also have it of a material, which the hardy is a masonry product, that is longer lasting, doesn't need to be repainted as often as cedar, because we've all had, Western red cedar on our homes, and you're painting it every 5 to 10 years. And you're trying to minimize that with the use of all the masonry.
Trustee Sweet, I don't think, staff can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's any variance at all regarding to the exteriors other than the garage door. I think everything in terms of the hardy board and the brick, all of that meets the regular, or current ordinance, is that correct?
The brick lining, they're stepping down on the side and the back. I think that's the only variance they're seeking. Yeah.
You're not finishing it across the first floor. Campton Hills, is that your project? Campton Hills? Here.
The Campton Hills, that commercial pictures I used.
Oh, okay, that's what I was asking.
Yeah, that was near my prior home. It was a commercial center next to the development I lived in. So I was very familiar with that, the size, the texture, and how that interacted with the adjoining residential neighborhood.
Oh, I have some. What are the price points on these?
It's anticipated the base price is going to be in the low 300s, and then options we tend to bring those up to about 10 to 20%. So we're figuring the average sales price are going to be in the mid 300s.
I would just say that I would like to have a couple of contingencies on this. And if you just kind of bear with me. I have property over here on this park, right on this strip, as you guys know, and I'm still active with CCIM and ICSC. And I know that the marketing on the retail site for this area, not this particular subject, but in general, is difficult because it doesn't have Bell Road access. So it's not attractive to huge name brand tenants, unfortunately. At this time, doesn't mean that things can change down the road. Once 143rd Street opens up, they may be more open to doing that, but we know that that's a couple of years down the road for 143rd Street to be done and open and start looking attractive to developers. And talking to brokers that I know from my previous 9 lives, the big boxes are just, they're gone. They're gone by the wayside. We're all ordering online, or we're doing the smaller run-in and run-out things. So that's why I initially was hoping to see a big box go here, but have been since convinced that that is not something that's going to happen anytime in the near future, if at all. Just the way of the world right now. I think it makes sense because there's, other multi-tenants just right here, the R6 and RA right there. I love the fact that it's within our strategic plan. We're offering diverse housing, a walkable community. I like this product in general. I would have liked to see a little more detail on landscaping. I don't want to be fooled by, I want to make sure that what we're seeing here is what we're actually going to get when it comes to all of these trees and things like that. I would like to add the condition that brick pavers or stamped concrete are added and place a certain percentage on it, that it's added to this, not something that we're just going to look at. I want it to happen. Let me finish. I'd also like to add that the subject property in the front that is that they're showing as commercial future development, I would like that graded and seeded and maintained until it is developed, because you're not going to attract people to want to build here when they have to look at what we've been looking at for the past 20 years. So I would like a contingent on the fact that when they're out there grading, that's grading. It's only about 3 acres. We did the math. It's not that expensive. I was in this business. It's not that expensive. It's worth it. This village deserves it. So I'd like to see that graded and the seeded, and I want it seed blanket. I don't want it just seeded because we've had some issues around in the village where we're just seeding and it's not taking. And then before we sign up on anything, we go back to the whole, has it taken, was it maintained? And then I want it professionally maintained by a landscaper, just as we would any other site, whether it's at some points, you know, some of our properties we have to do every week when it's raining in May, right? And now in August, you do it every other week. I want it maintained, you know, meticulously grassly maintained in a nice area. So I would like to see that somewhere in here showing that we're going to do that. And again, I want some kind of language that says we're not going to have just this concrete island of areas. And like you said, just simple areas, corners or something like that. The other thing I'd like to see is this permit, that this variance that we're giving for the 36 months on the construction sign. I'd like to, you know, I would like that to be a nice sign that has landscape around it, that is attractive, because you're basically going to be using that to market this site. So I just don't want 2 poles in a sign, a 4x6 sign in the ground. I want it to be a nice sign that has some landscaping around it, whether it's perennials or natural grasses or whatever you choose to do, but I do want it to be an attractive looking sign that's out there. But other than that, you know, I am appreciative of the fact that you have worked with us on this and brought down that density. And again, as you know, when we first met, I was not an advocate of this. I wanted to see the big box here, or I wanted to see all retail. But in doing my homework and talking to the professionals who are in this world, this is not happening back there. It's a good product, and again, I like the fact that we're following the guidelines of the new strategic plan.
Just rebuttal, and you may not have submitted it because the stop and staff, we have submitted a detailed preliminary landscape plan that is pretty darn extensive. And actually the plan commission chairman asked the question, were we committing to doing that plan? And we said yes. Obviously when you do a preliminary landscape plan, it doesn't have all the sizing and the specific species. It has evergreen or deciduous tree. It doesn't say which type of what it is. So we are definitely committed to creating those places. And VJ does have the detailed preliminary, and we will definitely follow that. On the commercial lots and the grading and seeding, that was always part of our plan. VJ had asked that question of us just recently, just to reaffirm that, and that is we're more than willing to do that. We need to do that for our own selves, you know, otherwise it becomes a dumping ground.
Grade.
On the sign,
maintaining it.
You see that you got to maintain.
I get you, but I don't always get that.
Now the question of what type of seed we do use, we will have to figure that out.
Sure.
You know, maybe we do something with a low growth fescue or something that looks good, but doesn't have to be manicured to 3 inches every week. But we'll do that we'll include that with our final landscape plans for staff to look at.
John, what is the grass that we agreed to over at Goodings Road? Do either of you two remember the one that we just?
I don't have the name in the mix or anything. But we used there are specific like park mixes, and we buy through, and I could get that information for you.
That's fine.
If you can Yes, that you can get that to us. And then on the sign, what we'll do is when we come with the final plat, we'll submit the sign and get the pertinent landscape with it so you can see it long before we apply for a sign permit.
I just want it noted in, minutes, so when we do issue that permit, that there's some kind of landscaping around it. Or something.
These are all items we can put in the development agreement before the final plan is made as well.
Just,
I think getting back to the fact that you live in Park Place, and I can attest to the fact that it was nice and you live there. Imagine you're going to be moving into the Homer Glen, so, would you want to be looking out over a field of weeds, or, I think that's what Trustee Rogers is getting at, and I know certainly that's what I was getting at, so.
The one thing I can say with certainty, I've been doing this for over 30 years. No matter what I've developed, I've always looked at as if I lived there, what I would like to see, and it's help. It's help. I don't want to just do a subdivision town. I want to create a community that can ultimately benefit. We're going to be an investor here for a long time because we don't believe the commercial is going to go today or tomorrow. So we want the townhomes to incubate the commercial. We're going to be here.
No, it looks like a good program that you have here and a good use of the land. And like Trustee Rogers said, the retail landscape is changing so quickly, and so, people don't even know what is coming next. So it is a good use of it, and it answers a lot of questions. So I do appreciate the whole development, and like you said, all the changes you have made. One additional point I do have, though, and I put this in one of my questions, was this street that's on the south, it kind of shows a little, it's a corner basically, where it comes up behind the retail or the commercial area. I had asked my questions about it not continuing through to the west. And your answer, which is fine, I have no problem with your answer, is that you don't want to pigeonhole what can happen with commercial going forward. But I would want it to be part of your marketing materials and whatever you're going to be doing over at your site when you show prospective tenants, or not tenants, owners, what this development looks like. That if they buy in that area, there's the potential that that road is going to open up. Because I don't want this room full in 5 years of people saying we didn't know that.
What our goal is, what I had that little exhibit attached to my letter, what I would really like, instead of having a straight cut through, is something that is a little circuitous. So that is something we're going to be working towards. A connection from here, our north-south road out to Greystone makes total sense. But that's kind of why we put the traffic circle here, as well as some.
Right, I'm just saying that if you sell to those people and those units down there, they become acclimated to, this is our private corner, and then when somebody does decide to bang that road open, it becomes an issue. So like I said, if it's on the plans now, then we have that to look back to. So.
No, that's fair.
I think another thing I'd love to talk about in the development agreement, obviously, is, because we don't have any control over these roads at some point, but Trustee Gregg will probably hear about it, is like speed limits and what we'd like to see up there as far as 20, 25, whatever it might be. Just something to remember and keep in mind.
My concern is that this 9.8999 units per acre is going to be the new norm if this gets approved. And that's because I still feel it's too dense. And like you said with the fence, are we setting going forward? Oh, well, hey, they approved nine units per acre previously.
I'm not concerned about that.
I would say Trustee Suisse is looking directly at me, so I'm going to answer that if you don't mind. I don't think that question's for you, John. I think that was for me. You're right. We have not changed our ordinance in the town, but we have had discussions. I know there have been discussions at CED on density numbers and moving those numbers around from what in my seat here, I would tell you I think 6 is an artificially and abnormally low number. I have sensitivity to the residents that are calling me and telling me that they think 9 is high density. I really don't, and I told them I think that's medium to low density, to be honest with you, still aiming at 9. I sat in Mr. Lazinski's development out in Geneva, which is 15, and I can tell you, I've never lived in an apartment in my life, I've never lived in a condo or a townhouse, but I did not feel crowded at all in that development. And I'm not, trying to market his complex over there. I think he did a fine job on it. If somebody who's never lived in that type of a situation can sit there and say, this doesn't feel like, I don't feel like this is closing in. I believe that Sagebrook over in Lockport, VJ can help me out here, I think Sagebrook's number is somewhere around 12 or higher. It's up there. And it feels crowded. I will grant you that there are thresholds even where Trustee Gray has a little discomfort. But I personally can say that 9 is a number that I know I've talked about in strategic planning. I know that I've heard about it in CED and I've read all of those packets and I've never really pushed back that much on it because I think 9 is a number that I can agree at some future points that, I can get my head around that. So.
What you saw in Geneva, was it the same style as we're looking here?
It is very similar, but I understand that it won't be the same builder. They're very similar looks, so I did send some pictures over to Assistant Village Manager next time to us, so she can certainly forward around too. So.
One other thing, the basic site plan here in Park Place in Geneva is exactly the same. One of the things that's so important is when you have density that feels dense, is in some cases it's a front-loaded product, and you just see garages down the middle of the street. Or if you have a court product or a product like that is just building, driveway, building. Well, we did it in Park Place and it worked very well. And we took this and basically put 2 Park Places together, because Park Place is literally on 2 acres, is we created where all but 2 buildings, they view and look out over
the green space.
Green space. It's usable green space. It's not just, 5-yard, side yard setback. And they're being usable, but everyone's decks will be in the back overlooking this green space. And these buildings here, obviously, the backs look over green space, but they're fronts. It's so important for something like this, in the perception of density, you won't feel like in Geneva, because what we tried to do is tie the existing storm basin all the way to the existing commercial with a green corridor, this east-west street where we have a 20-foot landscape island. And one of the things I told the Plan Commission, we felt it was very important that this public street go in initially with the townhomes so we can create this green corridor. The traffic circle. Traffic circles take up a lot of land, but they do function to break up a sea of asphalt that's at an intersection. That's why we added it. That's why we added it down here. So we have this view. We're tying sidewalks in, so we got not only the walkability, but we have usable green space. It's not a development just to have a development and hit a density number, but we try to use these for useful purposes. In Geneva, and just picture basically Park Place is just one place. Watch, there's 30 units and 6 buildings around a quad. And we got 2 4-unit buildings, 2 5-unit buildings, and 2 6-unit buildings. And we've got actually a pretty elaborate fireplace in the middle of that. Now, I guarantee you go out there Sunday night, if it's not raining, there's 10 to 30 people that are drinking wine and socializing. It becomes a gathering. And around that we have a brick paver patio, and there's 4 brick half-wall seats. Seats are never used for people to sit on. It helps define the space. For the people to gather there, it always becomes where bottles of wine go or food goes, and it is a gathering space. Just last month, we had a courtyard party. They had over 100 people. Not only that little neighborhood, but we're in downtown. So the next 2 blocks over, they came. We had a band, and it becomes a social gathering. And quite frankly, one of the remonstrators we had when we were zoning that used us as an example 1 year later on something else. Why can't we have another Park Place here instead of their proposal? So it's sometimes, and that's why I try to say with the number, how you calculate density, and I'll be honest with you, I'd be a proponent of saying gross density is a better gauge of really net density, because net, you start to take out things. But I can do our net by taking our road, the right-of-way away and be at 7.6. You know, or if if your 10-acre conservation area throws a little curve, but I could get it to 6, but I'd be over that conservation. So I wouldn't want to do that. But you get a good quality plan when people look at open space. They have landscaping. And you saw, Trustee Gray, you saw it, basically some of the first buildings now, they're be 3 years in November. So you're seeing this landscaping in that second and third year, and it's starting really to leap and starting to look good. And that's what happens in some of these areas. You plan it, it'll look good.
Okay. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Steve?
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 18-045, an ordinance declaring surplus property and authorizing its sale?
So moved.
Mr. Rogers?
Second.
Mr. Caprio? Discussion? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Steve?
Motion carries. Next, pay estimate number 1 from Alessio Sons Company for the detention basin bioswale project 319 Grant Heritage Park. Is there a motion to approve pay estimate number 1 from Alessio Sons Company for the detention basin bioswale project 319 Grant Heritage Park in the amount of $314,672.62?
So move.
Caprio?
Second.
Trustee Gray? Discussion. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Steve? Aye. Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, is there a motion to approve pay estimate number 4, final, from Airy Inc. for 2017 drainage improvement project number 1 in the Aaron Hill subdivision in the amount of $8,576.93.
So moved.
Trustee Gray,
Second.
Trustee Rogers, discussion.
So this is our final? We're done? This is
For this project, yes.
okay, for the Aaron Hills whole thing?
Correct.
And everything is satisfactory?
Yes, everything looks good.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Steve?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, approving Connelly's electric proposal for the installation and configuration of the electrical switchboard in Heritage Park.
So moved.
Trustee Rogers and Trustee Caprio. Discussion. Madam Clerk, please call. Here. Maybe we have to do this. Is there a motion for the installation configure electrical switchboard for $42,000?
So moved.
Second. Sorry.
I just didn't have that. So, no other discussion?
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Steve?
Aye.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve TRIA Architecture's invoices for professional services related to Phase 2 of the Village's Heritage Park project with a total amount of $17,378.19? So moved. Trustee Gray,
Second.
Trustee Rogers, discussion. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Ryder? Aye. Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Motion carries. Workshop item. Discussion regarding potential addition of sidewalk connecting Eagle Ridge Drive to Heritage Park.
It is a lot of money for,
Who's got it?
So this topic has come up before in the context of the strategic plan at Heritage Park Master Project that committee holds a couple months ago, but staff thought it was important in talking with some of the trustees to revisit it now that we have more accurate estimations from contractors and kind of get guidance on, so we can move forward with final engineering and selecting a contractor, and just kind of guidance from staff on moving forward with it and what type of material for the sidewalk court path.
Do we have any grant we're working on to help do this?
No, not at this time.
I think it's a great idea, I just think it's a ton of money.
it is, I would agree that as are most things at the municipal level are a ton of money. I remember the first time I saw a park pack for Goodiesville Park, and I said, are we really spending $4,000 for a garbage can?
Yeah.
So while I do agree with, I think everybody's estimation that $86,000 to $100,000 is an exorbitant amount of money for a sidewalk. The sidewalk is 1,100 feet long, which is better than a quarter of a mile, I believe. The sidewalk would go from the corner of the subdivision right next door to us, which is Woodbine. You come onto the Heritage Park property, you come all the way over to Heritage Circle. So, you know, this is something that I personally have been pushing for a long time. I do live in Woodbine, but that really has nothing to do with it. I don't have small kids anymore. But I have lived here for 17 years, and all the time, even when this was a golf course, we never had a way of getting over to the library or over to the township property, to the fields. Now that the village has bought the old Woodbine golf course and made it Heritage Park and made it the jewel in our crown, essentially, we need to start looking, I think, at ways to tie these items, the amenities we're making at these parks, into our trail system and truly make these walkable communities that we've been talking about. So by bridging this small gap right here in front of us, we essentially tie Heroes Trail, which right now ends at in Culver Park, which is over in Pebble Creek. We could over street route, share the path, if you will, or whatever those are, the bike lanes, and come all the way over to the corner of Eagle Ridge and 151st, traverse in on the new sidewalk, and then connect up Heritage Park. So going forward, things like Homer Fest and kids going over the fields or to the library or whatnot, they have a safe way of traveling over here. So that was the emphasis for this. And you know, if you really look at the map of Homer Glen, the northeast corner of Homer Glen probably has a third or more of our population. And this would tie the trail all the way out to 135th and Willcook Road. So I mean, this picks up a bunch of feeders and ties not the last stitch in one of these stitching this thing together, but a substantial one.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have talked about the system, so really for $85,000, you're tying a huge portion of this community together. Again, beating a dead horse, but going back to the strategic plan is making the community more walkable, more rideable, pulling it all together. It's something to really think about, again, is the whole fest. I mean, do we want people riding their bikes and going down 151st Street, walking? No. Do we want people in this park? Absolutely 100%. How are they going to get here? How are the kids going to get over here to play on the equipment, drive down 151st Street, walk down 151st Street? This 100% makes sense to me. It's $85,000, which is cheaper today than it will be tomorrow, because the contractor that's out there and staged out there now is the one that has bid it, has given us the numbers. We pull them and to try thinking about this, oh, let's think and see, wait, I guarantee you this number will go up because you're restaging all of those people. And again, the fact that it's going to tie 151st and Parker all the way to John Coy's house on 131st and Willcook Road is huge. One thing that we could do, one of the things that we had talked about was at the park, bringing, you know, involving the Parks Committee, and because you know, I'm not a bike rider person unless it's got 4 wheels. I just don't do it. I'm not good at it. But when people are coming from getting off the trails and they have to go on the public roads there, whether it's in Woodbine or whatever, is creating some type of signage similar to what I've seen in snowmobile tours, where it's just a really small sign with an arrow, that kind of, so people know what to look for, and so when they get out, hop off, they kind of know which direction to go to jump back onto that next thing. So that we're not putting these bike paths in right away. We have some type of simple signage directing people how to jump from one street to the other to stay on the path or to get onto the next path. This 100% makes sense to me. As far as whether it should be concrete or asphalt, I'm more in favor of the asphalt. But that's just my own opinion. I'm flexible to that. And I just think it's really great, and it's a great way to get people into this park. And that's what we're going to need in the spring. You know, this park is going to be usable in the spring, and it's exciting, and it's a safety issue.
Well, I think it's a good idea as well. I'm not opposed to it. The price is astronomical in my mind, but the price differentiator between concrete and asphalt is literally $10 a square yard, foot, whatever, whichever way you want to manage it at the end of the day, which surprises me with the two totally obscure materials. I would just suggest that we go and once again ask where that differentiation is.
I think we did talk to him about it. It has to do with like depth of the concrete versus depth of the asphalt. I think that asphalt I was more comfortable with because it's a lot more easy for us to repair it. You know, to put an asphalt patch on something as opposed to trying to fix an upheaved concrete thing down the road is much bigger.
And asphalt will tie right in with the rest of the park.
And it's a little, and the concrete, in my own opinion, the asphalt to me is just a little more, you know, rustic looking. It just doesn't stick out. You know.
I'd rather have those subdivisions to our east here, walking to Homerfest or riding to Homerfest instead of driving. It'll eliminate a lot of traffic.
At the time they did it.
No, we'll walk. We'll walk.
I'm too tired to do it.
Okay.
Has anybody talked to the resident in law?
I've talked to several people in my subdivision because...
No, I'm talking
For a specific reason.
No, not yet. I've not had a chance to talk to that person. I've tried. I've gone up to that house a couple times. There's been nobody there. So, but I will. That won't fall to you. That will fall to me. So, but I have talked to other people in my subdivision because, and perhaps Matt knows more about this. The first look from the engineers said that our monument signs to our subdivision will probably be impacted by this.
Correct.
And so I did reach out to some of the people who I knew that they had put together. We put those signs in ourselves. It's not part of our subdivision. They built it in '94. We put those signs in, I think, in '02. I was not on that committee to do that, but I've asked them to pull the paperwork and asked them what clearances they got back then. And they said they had met with the highway commissioner and county people. Now, all of those positions have changed since then, but I asked them to pull together any documentation that may or may not prove that, they're in the right spot and, how do we proceed, what are our next steps. So before anybody heads over to pull those, I want to, coordinate a list of people that we need to get signed off.
Absolutely, we'll look into that as well.
Yeah, and I think what Trustee Sweets in particular is talking about, that corner homeowner. There's a very large berm, which I believe is also in the right of way. Is that correct, Matt? The berm that's on the south side of that?
Yes, that's the south border of that, would be the resident's backyard.
So there's a large berm there, and while it is a nice item for him, it gives him some privacy from 151st Street. He's not the original owner of that house. The original owner of that house moved, he's like now the third or fourth owner. The first owner put that berm in and put it in an area where really it will be impacted. Because if you look at any subdivision on a corner lot, there's a sidewalk running along the side of your fence. So that gentleman has a fence there,
So all his buffer trees and everything, that's all going to be gone because that's in the right of way?
I believe so. Correct. So all of that, and I've also been told that by the highway commissioner that when we go to widen 151st Street, all of this will be impacted by that anyhow. So even if we didn't proceed with this plan, all of those something's going to impact a lot of that. It's just a matter of what it is. So, but like I said, I will definitely have that conversation with that gentleman on the corner.
And I plan on reaching out with our arborist to over those trees. I understand that there might be some fungus infecting some those trees currently. So we'll see what the possibilities are for potentially relocating or treating those trees.
Transplanting them.
Possible.
To Sharon Sweet's here.
So I guess, are we looking for some kind of direction, consensus? What do we need to do here in order, because time is of the essence, because that contractor is pretty much almost done.
Well, we have the money set aside for it already.
Yeah, I believe that it was like, I know we've talked about this in the budgeting. I know Director Service isn't here to speak to that, but I also believe there was MFT funds that were available as well. So, like Trustee Rogers said, this is a timely issue. Is this an actionable item for us?
No, we can do a consensus on it and then put it up for the next meeting because it was in favor of doing it.
It is my support.
Okay. Are we gonna put it, are we thinking concrete or asphalt, just so we're kind of narrow this down for the next? I'd rather. Jim?
Asphalt, I like the, I didn't even think of it, but I like the idea that you came up with it. It's easily repairable by our own staff too, so. I'm not easily, sorry, John. I never mean to minimize it.
All right, so the consensus is yes, that we would want that, so we can discuss it with Christine and with Brian and bring it for the next meeting. Is it done?
I would just say that, because Trustee Variance isn't here, that we should probably table E1 at this time. I mean, you know.
Just the 1 7 minutes?
Yes.
Because, yeah, I mean.
I'd be comfortable with that just based on our email conversation, I think.
So do I need to withdraw my motion?
I think we can make any kind of action. So we just need a motion to table it, right?
Yeah, I have that.
Yeah, there's a
I
motion.
motion and Capri was second.
Yeah, for this one, yeah, so let's,
So
roll
just
table.
amend it to table.
Yeah, just table.
Motion to table.
I motion to table the approval of the minutes from April 25th.
I'll second that.
I'm just throwing this out here. I think that maybe considering the fact that we're missing, you know, 2 trustees, that maybe L1 should be pushed off to next week as well.
Because we still, I agree, we still have more coming for us.
And that isn't something that you necessarily table.
Okay.
It's like not to go to executive session.
Okay.
There's no motion pending to go to executive session.
That's why I got you.
Okay, then I need,
Mr. Mayor, can I make a suggestion to at least have the initial discussion? And ramifications are, I can tell you at the next meeting, I'm out of town, the assistant manager is not available. That means this item is going to be tabled into October.
The executive session?
And anything about,
okay, well,
Tabling the minutes.
yeah, I got a motion.
all right, Dan,
Yes.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that carries, we're tabling. Executive session, you feel that we should go in and at least discuss this one for right now?
I would recommend that, yes.
Okay, all right. Then,
I'm happy to do that, but I know we'll be back in October because without two of almost half of us not here, it seems prudent to include them in conversation.
all right, right now, the next item is executive session. Is there a motion to go into executive session for purposes of discussing personnel?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, you didn't do old business, right?
Sorry.
Did you do old business?
New business, old business.
I did all business, is there any new business? All right. So, next to the next item is executive session. Is there a motion to go into executive session for purposes of discussing personnel? Trustee Sweet. Second. Trustee Gabriel. This is going to be discussion only. There won't be any action taken. So, if you want to go home, go home.